So in the World Cup, there's 127 players, and they play a knockout system. So after one round, there's 64, which is good for chess. The second round is going on currently, and there were 9 Americans. Is that 9 fingers? There were 9 Americans to start. Surprisingly, 4 went to the second round, 5 got knocked out. Shabalov, Kaidanov, Holt. I can do this. I can do it. Just think I can. I think I can. Let's see who else is terrible. Man, I mean, I got the bottom of the barrel here. What? Who else? Alejandro Ramirez. Man, that was Armageddon game, and I'm missing one. One other American got knocked out in the first round.
Oh, the first round.
Yeah, I'll think of it in a second. I mean, I won't. People going on were Ray Robson, Gata Kamsky, Hikaru Nakamura, and Onishuk. Onishuk and Robson got knocked out today. Onishuk in most embarrassing fashion. Okay, Onishuk lost the first game, and it's a 2-game match. Now, if you're good at math, and you lost game 1 of a 2-game match, guess what you have to do in game 2?
Offer a draw. Offer a draw.
Offer a draw, and after 20 moves in an equal position. That's what he did, so he's out.
What the heck?
I don't know. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Ray Robson lost the first game against Ivanchuk and tried really hard the second game, but not hard enough. So he's out. Nakamura's through. And Kamsky won the first game, and the whole lecture will be on the second game. Considered by many, including myself, the worst game ever played by 2 players 2650 feet and above. So like a typical game for you guys. But every move double question marks. You'll feel right at home. Pressure? I don't know. Okay, now Shimonov, unlike Onishuk, actually tried to win the second game, and he did. That was amazing. So there's tiebreak tomorrow. Well, there's many tiebreaks, but this is the important one. So there's one American who's doing tiebreaks. I'm sure you're all very patriotic because of the great U.S. victory yesterday in
Badminton?
What's that?
Soccer.
Soccer, very good. Beating.
The Dominican?
Worst answer I've ever heard. Man, I've heard some bad answers from Ken West, but you're getting up there. Now, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and it's the first time the U.S. has been behind in Europe ever and won. Ever. That's very suspicious. 2 days ago, the Cardinals did the same thing. They were 0-40 this year, went behind after 8 innings, but then they won because I was watching.
Bad call.
Okay, well, obviously there was cheating involved. Okay, so this is a very funny game because I want to talk about strategic ideas because that's the name of the class. You're very familiar, or you should be, with the Queen's Gambit. The strategic idea of the Queen's Gambit is that this guy leaves the board. See, that was easy. And when he does, you get the center. And black plays probably here if you're in my camp. And then white has this nice position. Okay? And that's if he's one of the better players. Right? Back me up, Julian. Do you agree this is checkmate? What's checkmate? All right. What does agree mean? Okay, so what we're trying to do is take this pawn that's sort of on the side, and get rid of the center pawn so we can grab the center. It's a very common opening. Most grandmasters don't take the pawn. They play e6 or c6 to maintain their pawn on d5. The King's Gambit has similar ideas, except you get checkmated a lot. What are you going to do? So Shimonov played very unusual King's Gambit, which I want to play because I've been playing over Morphy games lately, and Morphy wins, so why can't I win? Okay, and incorrect as usual. What's your name? Julian. Always incorrect. Says I'm stronger than Morphy and I would win. Horrible. Yell at him. Yeah. Ridiculous. Okay. So Morphy's playing f4 and crushing people, and he's facing f4 and crushing people. Now, I had an acquaintance/friend in Michigan, and he would come over the house and play chess with me, my dad, and my brother, and my mom would feed him. That's the main reason he came over. And he actually got to 2350, but he was maybe 1300 at the time. And his favorite player was Morphy. And he asked my mom once, he says, I don't really know the answer to this. Can you, a chess question, my mom. And that's the bottom of that makes our chess campers look good, by the way. And he said, is Morphy still alive? And my mom, who knows nothing about chess, said no. Even she knew it. She's like, nah. Now he died in the 1870s, is that right? Something like that. I looked it up, but I was like it yesterday, so I forgot.
In a bathtub.
Exactly. Okay. So Morphy was the king of the King's Gambit, which makes sense. Don't tell LeBron. All right. Now against the King's Gambit, I played D5, causing confusion. Kamsky instead thought for 20 minutes on every move until he was in time trouble on move 7. It was a good idea. And he took, which is the correct move. And now, if you remember Judith Polgar when she was good, that's a good memory. You gotta have a really good memory to remember that. What did Judith always play in this position? Bishop C4, right. And most grandmasters, like Nigel when he's kidding, or Spassky when he's not kidding, play knight F3. And then Fischer said D6 wins because he's crazy, which he later proved that he was crazy. Didn't prove D6 was good, but he proved he was crazy. Okay, Bishop C4. Now I have my own story, which always happens because I'm old. I had this position with black against Judith, and I prepared for her. And I had a novelty prepared, and it was all, this is 1,000 years ago. And when I played my novelty, I don't remember the game at all, she instantly moved and played faster than me and was winning. Well, not winning, but better. Exactly, right. And then in a drawn endgame of double rooks, she walked into mate and won. The crowd didn't like that. When I checkmated Judith, the crowd was mad because they were rooting for her. She was like 14. So she was only like 200 points better than me. Okay, so Bishop C4 is what Judith played. And when Shimonov, who's white in this game, your favorite grandmaster, played this, Kamsky thought forever again. And I met Shimonov, I didn't meet him, but I saw him in India 2011 at the World Junior Championship. And he did pretty well. Okay, I think he was drunk a lot. Anyway, D5 is the normal move, and if pawn takes, the bishop is blocked, so they take with the bishop, and now you play knight F6. Question, incorrect.
So if ED...
In this position.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So isn't it a good plan to play like bishop E3 and C4? And then D4.
Bishop E3?
No, B3, bishop.
Is that a good plan? No,
Yeah.
no. Now then your bishop's terrible, you're not developing. That's typical low-rated player thinking. Very good. I'm glad you said that. So most low-rated players, they don't care about development, they don't care about the center, they care about being a pawn ahead. So white wants to play bishop B3 and C4, which may be a plan, but I discourage my students from doing that. The difference is your moves were legal. Very good. I've been teaching camp all day and I don't see that too often. Okay, and you actually had a reason for making your moves. I've never seen that before, not in chess camp. Okay, so taking with a bishop is the normal move. That's what Judith did against me, because you want to have open lines. And if you remember the Queen's Gambit, which was like 3 minutes ago, so white's trying to get the center, so ED sort of destroys his center. He'd like to play D4 and E4, and Shimonov actually accomplishes that because Kamsky plays crazy later. Bishop takes, knight C3. And white wants to play knight F3, D4, bishop takes F4, and be a pawn ahead and have the center. Bishop B4, which is a reasonable move. Knight F3. I never saw people developing their pieces so much. I've been teaching chess camp all week. What happened to queen H5, queen H4, blundering their queen? Castles. Castles, yay. C6. Bishop C4. Now, Kamsky went completely nuts, which I like because it wasn't me. And I was showing this game to the chess camp today, and I was telling him play in the center and develop your pieces, and Kamsky did the opposite, just to prove me wrong. B5, A5. Like what? Okay, ridiculous. Okay, so I told the kids, black's not developing at all. He pushes all his pawns on the side. I said, so he'll win just to prove me wrong. Okay, but he didn't prove me wrong. He should have won. Okay, A4, stopping A4. Knight D7, takes, knight D5. And now, white wants to play pawn C3 and pawn D4 and bishop takes F4. And he does all that stuff. That's a good plan to have and then to do it. And black, for some reason, did this, but I don't know why. Okay. Kamsky's terrible. No. Okay, although he will win the Singfield Cup. Knight takes, bishop, the mysteries of life. Bishop takes, he actually saw his rook was hanging. Now, rook A6 is a funny move. I've only seen it played by good players in the Budapest. And when I say good, they're not too good. And black wants to play rook h6 and give mate. Also, he's saving his rook. But that only works like in 1-minute chess, which this is not. Although Kamsky had 1 minute now, so it was close. Okay, d3 attacking the pawn on f4. Knight f6 attacking the bishop. Bishop hides on a2. Knight h5 defending the pawn on f4. Typical, actually, king's gambit move, protecting the pawn on f4. And white decides to get a good center. Always a good time to do that. And knight e5, which has a, what's it called? Discovered attack. Yes. I only teach it 7 times a day. Okay, so knight e5, and the queen on d1 is attacking the knight. And Kamsky just missed it and hung up. Well, he should have. Okay, now he played queen h4. So the kids were happy because there's a queen on h4. That's how you play. And queen to d3, attacking the b5 pawn. And rook h6. Now, black's play is very weird. And Kamsky usually doesn't play weird. And Nakamura likes to play weird. So he was probably watching this game shaking his head at both sides. Okay? And then he went back to his own game and shook his head some more. Okay? Not sure why, but by the way, if you listen to Lawrence Trent and Susan Polgar, because you have something wrong with you, if you listen to them, Lawrence Trent just says, Nakamura keeps shaking his head. And that's his commentary. So like, what do you think of the position? I don't know, Nakamura shaking his head. That's the commentary. But he is shaking his head a lot, it's true. Now, my computer program says white's winning. And it says the best win is knight f7, rook f7, queen takes b5, because this is pinned. And then this is going to be hanging, this is mate in 1 in case you don't see it, which you probably don't. If bishop d7, I'll take it, because the rook's pinned. And my computer says white is up 4.6, which is good for white. Okay. Another winning move is bishop takes f7 with the same idea. In fact, you can just keep taking things every move. And then rook takes a5, attacking the bishop with check. And then take on b5, and white's up like 2.7, it says. So white has lots of ways to win. Instead, white played the worst legal move in chess history. Okay, and that's, I've watched a lot of you guys play, so I'm shocked. I thought I couldn't see worse moves, but man, this move makes no sense at all. It's non-terrible, horrible. Only Jacob could find such a move. That's true. It's like you're on chess.com and it plays the worst move so you can now win. Yeah. So what was the move, Jacob? Rook F2. Okay, horrible. Okay, it's better with the rook on F1. This makes sure the king can't escape. Now, black has several ways to win. The funniest win is bishop takes d4, only computer related.
Can I ask a question?
You cannot.
Oh.
Yes.
What was the point of rook f2? What's his idea?
He's probably drunk. I don't know. He was drunk with power. Rook f2 is the stupidest move ever. Now, the reason he played it, if I could read his insane mind, is he wanted to run his king away. King f1, king e2.
What's wrong with queen takes h2 though?
Nothing.
There's nothing, it wins. Yeah. So queen takes h2 wins. The most obvious variation is takes, knight check, discover check with the rook, and then checkmate. So white wouldn't do that because that would be bad for white. So white would play king f1, and then knight g3 check is good, and there's other good moves too. And then queen g1 check is good, and there's other good moves. And black's up 5, I think, or something. So black's completely winning because it's ridiculous. And somehow, black has a big attack. Rook f2 was very helpful. Now, if you played up some random legal move like rook b1, for example, now this doesn't work because the king just saunters away. Okay, and whatever, it's a position. I guess if you take this and win my queen, then white's a piece ahead. So probably good for white. So the only way queen h2 works is for white to set it up with rook f2. Genius. Okay, I don't know how he did it. Okay. And now black has other winning moves also, moves that equalize. Instead, Kamsky played the worst legal move in history after the worst legal move in history, just to one-up him. Okay, but there's a lot of blunders this game. Kamsky played knight g3, threatening queen takes h2 mate. Now, if I was Kamsky, I wouldn't be lecturing you guys now, but I would see that there's only one defense to queen h2 that actually defends h2. Grandmaster Ken West. How can you defend the h2 pawn and protect it? You can do it. Well, maybe not.
Looking at the pawn push.
That doesn't protect the pawn, that pushes it.
Yeah, he just sacked.
Yeah, obviously Preston knows.
Brings the knight back.
Bring the knight back, and black resigns. Although he didn't resign because he was winning later, but that's different. So obviously Kamsky didn't see knight f3, because then his move was insane. He just didn't see that you could retreat. Boo! So knight g3 is the worst move ever, and knight f3, white's completely winning. Plus a lot. 5. Okay. But he's -5 later, because this is the worst game ever. So Kamsky sees his queen is hanging, so he moves it away. Good job. And white takes the free knight. And white's a piece ahead. Yay. Okay. Queen h5, threatening queen h1, checkmate with advantage. So that's, reasonable. And now white can be plus a lot if he plays some move. Not the, his move was the worst move on the board.
Knight h4.
Knight who?
Knight h4.
Knight h4 is a good move. Then you're big plus. I think there was some move that was +6. But somehow he played the worst move. How do you play the worst move every move? Oh no, he didn't play the worst move here. He waited to move. He had to chill a little bit. King f1. Yeah, that's the worst move. Yeah. Yeah, king f1's the worst move. Then takes, threatening the rook. I think he played a blunder here too. He tried anyway. I guess I could take the rook, but he played rook c2, and now black's winning again. Hooray. King e3, queen h6 check, repeat a little bit, and queen d1, because if they repeat, Kamsky wins the match. So, pause for effect. Ownership would have repeated. Bam! Okay. Yeah, ownership would have repeated and said, yeah, I lost the match. Okay. That's even crazier what Kamsky did, playing terrible. Like, ownership's like, I draw, okay, I lose the match. Okay, queen d1. Takes here. Now, any Russian grandmaster knows what overloaded is, because every night, okay. So notice how the queen is protecting the knight and the rook. So the very simple winning tactic is
Take the knight with the rook.
take the knight with the rook, which may not even be the best move, but it's good enough. And I don't know, this is good development, I guess, and so's that. So. All right, and black's winning, but it's like sort of close. But black's not going to lose. So instead of doing that, his move is also okay. Queen h3. And now he's down a piece, but it's complicated. Although I would rather not be down a piece, my opinion. Knight g1, attacking the queen. Queen h1, moving the queen. Bishop to d5. And white's a piece ahead, and they're in time trouble, and black has to prove his compensation, which he has, but he didn't really prove it. g2. And this is why Morphy was better than these bozos that play chess now. Because when Morphy had a king's gambit, every move was perfect, plus tax. Now there's the famous game, Morphy versus that guy. Who was that guy? Yeah, NN probably, yeah. No, who was he playing? It was a king, no, not that one. It was a king's gambit, and Morphy's king ran up the board, and then he took all the guy's pieces, winning his queen. And they put it on a computer. Computer said Morphy played perfect every move. They put this on a computer, and the computer broke. And they had to buy a new computer, because every move was the worst move. And the thing is, there's two ways to win at chess. You can get positions you play really well. Ken West knows what I'm talking about. Well, maybe he doesn't. And the other way is to get positions your opponent plays badly. And after this game, Ronan Harzvi and I were talking, the Grandmaster in residence currently. This is my 1-year anniversary, thank you. Ronan said, Kamsky's terrible tactician, horrible. Although not horrible, it's all right. But obviously Kamsky's a great strategist and a great positional player. His tactical play is a little iffy. So Shimonov picked a good opening to have his opponent make a lot of blunders. Also, Shimonov made a lot of blunders. So it was wonderful. Rook f2, And Kamsky's not used to tricky, complicated positions. He wants it simple. That's why he should have won his piece back. And at some point, white's just a piece up, and black has no pieces and has to resign. I hate when that happens. Yeah, and Kamsky's moves are just sort of random moves. He's not putting pressure on the king. He's not queening. He's just like, well, this is a normal looking move, but he's down a piece. So down a piece is bad. And there was no real fight here. He's just down a piece. Although he checked him a couple times. That's pretty good. Yeah, the ammonia attack nature. Okay. And here Kamsky resigned because he's down a piece for no pawns. So knight in 4 versus 4, and he had enough. And there were 5 moves in that game which were at least 5 or 6 pawn blunders, which changed the evaluation. And there were 2 moves that were 10 pawn blunders. Okay, and okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. That's your kind of chess. Yeah, Ken West is like, that's it. The best player in China right now is none of the people you've heard of. You haven't heard any of them. So. What's that? Exactly, Gesundheit. And Wei Yi is how old? 14. And he beat Nepomniachtchi in round 1 and Shirov in round 2. 2 players over 2,700. Yeah, but he would have been over if he'd won the match. Okay. Shirov used to be good, and then he decided he wasn't. Okay. He's like, not good anymore. Wei Yi, on the other hand, plays great. He plays like a 14-year-old. Now, Shirov also plays like he's 14, but he can't calculate like he used to, so he blunders a lot now. So they played a Sicilian, and actually, if you remember the match, I'm assuming that you're our only hope, and even you might have some trouble. There was a match a long time ago between Nakamura and Karyakin.
I do remember. Naka killed him.
Naka destroyed, I think it was 4.5, 1.5. That's correct. And in many of the games, we saw this style of play. White sacrifices a piece for 3 pawns and gets 3 passed pawns. That was in several of their games, in the Sicilian variation. And bishop takes b5. And if you look at the Karyakin-Nakamura match, this happened in like half the games. This bishop b5, knight b5, knight d6, trade queens, and we have 3 pawns for a piece. Actually, most of those games were drawn, even though they're really double-edged. Now, in my opinion, which Shirov obviously doesn't agree with, when you play a 14-year-old Chinese player, you should trade all the pieces off and grind them down in an endgame, because they have no endgame experience or any experience. And Chinese players in general, the book on them is all tactics and all theory. Shirov likes to play really tactical, so he plays into his opponent's strength. Even though Shirov's 100 years old, he should have some endgame acumen, bishop h3, for example. But instead, Shirov plays the craziest line of all time to see who could play crazier. Well, then we saw what happened. So h5, b5, king on the center. So white sacrificed a piece, takes on d6 with the queen, which is actually necessary here. If knight takes, then queen b2 is coming. And then they traded queens. And white has 3 passed pawns for a piece, but the passed pawns aren't really queening yet. But give him a few moves. No queen. And this was a fantastic game from Wei Yi. And he starts pushing his pawns. Bishop check, takes, and knight takes is very dangerous because of rook takes knight on d7. Really dangerous. So king g5, knight d4 defending his pawn. And king decides not to get mated. And black just doesn't have enough play. The typical tactic from a young player, one that you would expect Shirov probably missed. Shirov was actually in time trouble. If pawn takes knight, rook takes knight, and if king takes knight, f5 check. So I'm sure that Shirov just didn't see this. And ends up being 1,000,000 pawns for a piece, which is 999,909, too many. And black has no pawns. Aw, too bad. I actually drew this ending without the h pawn, where it was just rook bishop and 3, rook bishop versus rook and 3. It was 97 moves. However, my king was in front of the 3 passed pawns, and I was lucky to draw. It was a draw, but it was touch and go. But the king's really far away, and white has an H pawn, so there's no way to draw. Well, they came close. And he gave up his H pawn because the king is cut off and the pawns are too strong. Also, this is really hard to play black. If it is a draw, there's one way to do it, nobody can do it. The computer's like, I give up. A7, king up. Yeah, I hate when this happens. I hate when there's 3 passed pawns. Now if rook takes pawn, rook d8 is annoying. And if you don't play rook takes pawn, then everything's annoying. So the annoyance stopped here. Notice how the king is cut off. I actually taught that in the chess camp yesterday, cutting the king off. And they're like, what? Why can't I just keep going? Come on. I'm like, it's check. They're like, so? Yeah, the kids in the camp would have drawn easily. They would just walk through check and no problem. They would have had no problem drawing. Yeah, right? Then you would have said, you agree this is an illegal move? And they're like, I don't know. What's an illegal move? So here black resigned. But Wei Yi drew easily with black and won pretty easily with white. And when I play 14-year-old tacticians, I make the game really, 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 really boring. Ugh, so boring, even I get mad. Very good. Now, if I can find this game, which is a 0% chance, but I'm going to find it anyway. I like a challenge. Because it reminds me of that game in the opposite way. Does it care about capitalization? Hey, Nerdlinger. What? No? Okay. Okay, one of my favorite games that not Mike Shahadi, not my dad. I got my ex-wife, my dad, my brother, and Mike Shahadi. And I have Greg Shahadi versus my ex-wife. So, okay, here's the game. That's pretty funny. Yeah, we got 4 Finegolds and they got 3 Shahadis. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Greg Shahadi beat my ex-wife in 16 moves. No wonder I divorced her. Okay. Terrible, man. I married the wrong one. All right, black is, you can't really read it, but try anyway. Jennifer Shahadi. Jennifer's known for what kind of style? Attacking, dragon, Najdorf, Grunfeld, sack all the pieces. I didn't hear you, but I knew what you said. Okay, now, I'm an old man, even though it was a long time ago. I've always been an old man. You know, I'm like Benjamin Button, I'm going the wrong way. And I'm like, okay, we got to make it boring, out of theory, Ken West style. Okay, so C4, which I play often, right? No. And then B3. I figured Jennifer's not studying this a lot. That's what I figured. Now, I saw Jennifer playing in this tournament, because we're in the same tournament. This is the US Championship. And in one game, she was playing Stas Krivensov. And Krivensov was white and played the sharpest Sicilian ever. And I was like, ugh, stupid. And then I was winning my game, and he was resigning. Like, she totally destroyed him. Which, by the way, if you can find that game, Krivensov, Jen Shahadi, Sicilian US Championship, man, did she beat him. And I was like, if I ever play Jennifer, I'm not doing that. It's going to be trade, 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 and then she won't like that. Now, there's a lot of history behind this game. It's a very famous game you're all familiar with. And Jennifer and I actually talked about it when we did commentary. Jennifer, they used to have the US Championship in women's as one tournament. And they would say, okay, you're the highest placed woman, you're the US Women's Champion, which is a strange way of doing it. But and so this year was really ridiculous what happened. Jennifer beat everybody, and she gained like 40 rating points. And Anna Hahn, who was then Anna Khan, true story, don't do that. She was like 0-5, and then won her last 4 games against other women who were lower rated than her and tied for first with Jennifer. And lost like 20 points. And they had a playoff, and Anna won, and she was the US Women's Champion. And they played for the money, and first prize was $12,000. So a low-rated player losing points did better than a high-rated player gaining points, because the Swiss system isn't designed to see who finishes in the middle. Right, Nerdlinger? He's like, yeah, that's ridiculous. And they actually did it like 3 times. And it always be some woman was crushing everybody, then she would lose to 2 super GMs. Another woman was like having a bad tournament, would beat 2 women in the last round, she'd be first. And I'm like, wait, what? What are you doing? So they don't do that anymore. Although they talk about doing it still. Okay, so I'm playing Jennifer in the last round, and we're good friends. We teach chess in New York together, hang out all the time. Known her for 50 years. And if it's a draw, she gets clear first, 12,000. If I win like $100 more, right? So her brother, Greg, and a mutual friend of ours, who shall remain nameless, Yakov Hirsch, they bet on whether I would give her a draw. They made a side bet, and Greg's like, well, he won't give her a draw, he's playing chess. You can't just give somebody a draw. And Yakov's like, well, they're friends. He can't win any more money. Just give her a draw, she gets 12,000. So we'll see who's right. Not Yakov. Okay, so boring. Yay, boring. Okay, and which famous physicists love these boring positions? Niels Bohr. Yeah, boring. The boring world of Niels Bohr. Okay, so boring. I've never. Look at Rook FB1 was my favorite move of the game, by the way, because I'm going to play B4 eventually, so I want my rook on A1. So yeah, that was also the most boring move I could think of. Now that's boring. Even Jacob's impressed. Jacob's like, wait a minute. Jacob's like, can you send me this game? This is more boring than I've ever played. B4.
Anderson, man.
It's like, but I won. H3 was my second favorite move of the game, because I got loofed. King F8's a mistake because it misplaces the king. A5 is a mistake because it weakens B6. And knight E5. And that's why King F8 is bad, because knight D7 check is coming, rook takes B6 is coming. King E7. Yeah, I'm a pawn up. Hooray. A5 was bad. She couldn't take it anymore. Rah, A5. But A5 weakens her pawns on the queen side. But she couldn't just sit there and do nothing. It was not her style. A5 was more her style. Also, trading pieces seems like it's closer to a draw, and a draw gets her all the money. So. And I tried to play as boring as possible still. And now I played bishop E2. If rook takes H4, what move does white play? My third favorite move of the game, which didn't happen. Only Jacob knows. Rook takes H4, what do we do? This was not played though.
A1 might be trapped.
Rook A1 is good, I like it, but King G1 was the plan. Also trapping the rook, and also I retreat more. Yay. Rook A1's a retreat, I like it. Okay, she played rook C5, and I still played as boring as I could. H5's a bad move. Taking on E4 is a really bad move. But again, this isn't her cup of tea. And she resigned. So black had no play the whole game, and the whole game was equal. Computer programs say 0.01 for me. Pretty big advantage. The point wasn't that I played a good game or that I got a winning position out of the opening. The point was Jennifer's good at calculating and tactics, and at really, really, really boring positions, I have a lot more experience than she does, although Jacob has the most. So I like to get a boring position against those kind of players, and against other kind of players, Kamsky, for example, I'd want to get an exciting position where he could make a blunder like Shimonov did. So, in fact, I drew Kamsky once in an open tournament. He sacked an exchange. We're both mating each other, and so he didn't necessarily play better than me. I lost to him once in 1,000 moves where I couldn't move. Vashir Legrave, my favorite player from what country? You.
No idea.
You.
France.
France, very good. And we're friends on Facebook because he plays so good. If he loses a game, though, unfriend.
You're serious about it.
Unfriend if he loses a game. Okay. And he's the only player who is currently 4-0 in the World Cup. No draws, no playoffs, just win every game. Now in game 1 of his match, he's getting crushed, and he should have resigned, according to you. You were like, why doesn't he resign? And 7 moves later, he was plus 30.
Yeah,
That's why he didn't resign.
he was completely lost.
And then he was plus 30 a few moves later. That's how he rolls. Okay. So this is game 2. Black has to win, and unlike Onishuk, he played crazy to try to win. Man, did he get beat. His worst beating of all time. Okay, so Vashir's white and doesn't play for a draw. He's white and a Sicilian. He plays sharp, complicated. H3, the sharpest move. No, just us, bishop g4. Bishop f1 resigns because bishop f1. Black can't even play bishop f8. Bishop's on f8. And it looks like what other opening? Justin. It looks like another opening. It started as a Sicilian. Now what does it look like? He's like, I don't know. Incorrect. You, the Ruy Lopez, named after who? Or is it whom?
Greece.
Whom?
Right, yeah.
From what country? Spain. So in Europe it's called? The Spanish, right. So it looks like a Ruy Lopez even though it's a Sicilian. That's what happens. Queen c7, what?
That's a Jagoran.
Well, if it was a lot different, it would be. Yeah, knight d8, very suspicious. Now it's Fisher random.
Where is that knight?
A4, stopping b5, so b6. Well, Black's trying to make the game last forever, then White might make a mistake. Look against Kamsky, he made about 30 mistakes. Okay, but Vashir the Grav's my guy, unless he loses next round, then I deny it. Okay. Knight a3, bishop d3, knight h2. Which super Grandmaster world champion, who comes here a lot, popularized knight h2 in the Ruy? Comes here a lot, world champion. Nakamura, world champion? Knight h2 in the Ruy? Speaking of the Ruy, Hikaru played the open Ruy today with Black. I've never seen him do that. Did you do? Never. Never seen him do it. What? Yeah, but I never saw him do it. The correct answer was Garry Kasparov. Played knight h2 exclam novelty against Karpov and destroyed him. You maneuver your knights around a lot in the Ruy Lopez, even though it's a Sicilian, as knight a5 has proven. So Black played knight c6 to d8 to b7 to a5. So you're proud. Took 4 moves to do it in 2. c4, blocking it up. f4. So Vashir de Grave doesn't say, oh, I need a draw to win the match. Let me play really boring like Jacob. He was thinking it. Okay, he was like, oh, f4 is the best move. Let's play the best move. Because f4, I get an attack on the king side. The knight on a5 is offsides. The rook on a8 is offsides, and I have more space. If he doesn't take, then f5 is crushing. f5, g4, resigns. So he takes. Bishop is good. g6, terrible, weakening the king. Bishop h2, beautiful. g4, again, not playing for the draw, but playing the best move. You're not going to get plus 36 by playing boring. Well, you will eventually. Queen c2, defending the b2 pawn. Rook e2, getting the other rook into the game. Rook g2, defending the g pawn. b5. So Black can't do anything, so he does something anyway. Rook f1, ignoring the nonsense on the queen's side. White's rooks are ready for checkmate. Black wishes he got checkmated this game after what you'll see. Takes, takes, takes. Queen c8, attacking the pawn. e5. So you can see White is not interested in drawing the game. White is interested in playing what he thinks is the best move. The knight on g7, strangely fianchettoed, can't move. And he wants to open lines for his bishop on c4, his rook on f1, his knight in e5 does everything. And once Black plays d6 to open up the line for his bishop, queen takes g6 is annoying. Knight d2 is a fantastic move. Where's the knight going? e4, and rook takes bishop is also a threat. So he saved his bishop. Knight went to e4. And computer said White is up, I think, +4 here, but he's a pawn down. That's good compensation, right? So very suspicious pieces here. Perfect pieces. White's piece is all perfect. Knight d6 is coming. d6 is coming. Knight takes bishop, winning a piece is best. Queen d8 defending his bishop. Queen f2 threatening f7. f5, as we know in the business, suicide. Yeah, opening up his own king. Bishop h4 attacking the queen. d6 check. Julian, in the chess camp, what would Black play here?
Black would play.
Very simple.
Queen.
No, absolutely. No. Bishop takes queen. Yeah, for sure. Queen h4 is illegal. Well, taking his own bishop, that's even illegal for them. All right, but make sure you're rolling for this. In my last chess camp that you were not at, it was a blitz it was a 15-minute tournament. A kid stopped the clock and he said to his opponent, "You can't take your own piece and you're in check." And we're like, all right, we looked and he was right. Like, the kid took his own piece and he was in check anyway. But I like the way his opponent pointed that out. Here's what you're doing wrong. So queen takes h4 does both of those. Takes his own piece and he's in check. Okay, but this is the World Cup. They play slightly better, not Kamsky. So bishop e6, but the queen's hanging on f2. Oh no, bam, takes that. And black has a good game, except he doesn't. Also, white needs a draw to go to the next match. Is he playing for a draw? No, he's playing for several checkmates. So e7 check is winning, knight f6 would be winning, rook takes g6 is winning, bishop takes e5 is winning. So white has good compensation for a queen. Queen h4, and kids would like that. e7 check, king moves, knight f6 check, king moves, bishop f7, man, this is annoying. Threatening, rook takes g6 mate with advantage. g5, and as we were the 4 isolated pawns, that's why black lost, bad pawn structure. Bishop g3. Now it's not plus 36 anymore because the computer announces mate. If it wasn't mate, it'd be plus a lot. Yeah, so that's the guy I picked to win the World Cup, see? And then somehow he plays like that. He must have knew, yeah. And I think black resigned here in shame. I never get to do that. I never play players that, wait, he's a grandmaster, never mind. So yeah, Vashtiel the Grav I've seen many times, and he's good. I think he won Beal, right? In a playoff with other GMs. 4-way tie for first, as is usual.
What's his rating?
Vashier's 2720 FIDE, so after this event, 2750, and then so forth.